Hi book buds, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Mackenzie and I am here with all of the book recs for you. Today I wanted to talk about romance reads and some of my favorite that I would recommend to you. I have my pink hair and my pink eyes, and pink is just the color of love and romance and all things fun, so I'm very excited about this, and I have quite a bunch of books here, so let's jump right into it. I wanted to start off really strong with the Unhoneymooners by Christina. This is one of my favorite books. I say that probably all the time with way too many books, but what book reader do you know that can actually choose a favorite book? I don't know a single one. This is one of my favorites. It is definitely my favorite that Christina has written, and it's an enemies to lovers. I love it. It starts with Olive and her nemesis Ethan ending up on a honeymoon trip together. So the bride is Olive's sister and Ethan's brother, the bride and the groom, and they get sick after the wedding with food poisoning. So they have a non-refundable honeymoon that they have to send somebody on. But the bride and groom are sick, so who do they send but their brother and sister? So Olive and Ethan, who are enemies and nemesis with one another, get sent together on a honeymoon that is unrefundable, and that they have to play the part of newlyweds. So it's definitely an interesting read. It's an enemies to lovers. I loved it. I loved it. First person, enemies to lovers, romance reads, cover's gorgeous, font is nice, you know, all of those things that I am in love with. This was a 5-star read for me, and if you are a fan of romance reads, it will probably be 5 stars for you as well. The next book that I want to talk about is The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood. This one has taken over BookTok, Bookstagram, BookTube, all of those things. I have seen it recommended so many places, and I was the first person to get on this boat. I got the uncorrected proof in like August or September. I don't know. I got the uncorrected proof. I got an early copy. Shout out to Goodreads giveaways. I love them. Maybe I'm just lucky and get a lot of those, but this I sat and read in one day, one sitting, whipped through it, and was absolutely in love. So this one has another girl named Olive, but this one's a different Olive. There's Olive, who is a PhD candidate, and Adam is a young professor, and so Olive was caught by her friend in the lab late at night, and she said that she was out on a date rather than being in the lab again. And so she grabbed the nearest person she could find, which was Adam, the professor, and kissed him in front of her friend just to prove that she was not like just sitting in the lab, that she was out on a date, that she was having fun, and they came back to the lab, whatever. So they kissed to show that she's in a relationship to her friend, and it was supposed to end there. But it got turned into a fake dating. So ends up into fake dating Adam and Olive, and both of them can benefit from this. So Olive needs to prove to her friend that she's fun and that she doesn't just hang out at the lab all the time. And Adam needs to show that he has settled down with a girl so that then he's less likely to be seen as like leaving the college, and he'll get more money to like do his sciencey things. I don't really understand it. I'm not a science person, so like having these people be college PhD science people, it means nothing to me. But like, I understood the story. I can't give a good synopsis because they're like sciencey people and they're doing sciencey things and they need money for some reason, and they need to show that they're settled down for that. Maybe you understood that, maybe you didn't. This was a 5-star read for me. I loved it. It is a fake dating situation. It's amazing. It is Allie Hazelwood's first book. I'm excited to see what else she comes up with, but I love it. Another really, really high on my recommendation list. Moving on, we have The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa, and I talked about this in my Evermore video because this reminds me of Champagne Problems by Taylor Swift, but we have Carolina. I always forget everybody's names. I read these so many times and yet I forget people's names. We have Carolina, who is left at the altar by her fiance, and she has to now move on. She's moved on from that, whatever. And now she has Max Hartley, which is the fiance's brother. So Carolina was going to marry her fiance. Fiance left her at the altar. Fiance's brother, Max, is now working with her to get a job. So it's kind of like an enemies thing because fiance's brother who left her at the altar, how could you like that man? I don't know. I couldn't. So it's kind of an enemies to lovers type of situation. Forced proximity. They're forced to work together to try and get this job for Carolina. So they have to travel all over and do something for a presentation and get everything put together for that, and they're forced to work together, during which they get closer and closer. See what happens next. Read it yourself. Again, 5-star read. Love it. Nothing better. I believe everything in this video is going to be a 5-star read because I love romances, and I'm not going to recommend something that's like a 1 or a 2-star read. I'm not. These are my favorites. These are my favorites of all time. Favorite romance reads. This is one of them. 5 stars. You should read it. The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is a really good one too. I think this was only 4 stars. So what I said, I lied. This was only 4 stars for me, but a lot of people saw it as 5 stars. It's a good book. I liked it a lot. Basically, Calla is going to Alaska to visit her father, who is going to pass away soon. So her father and her mother split up when she was young, and she has no relationship with her father. But her father finds out that he is going to die, and thus she feels the need to go and visit him and stay with him in Alaska. So he's in Alaska and she comes to see him, and the only way to get around is by plane because they're in the middle of nowhere, and so it's getting around from one city and little town to another, and the dad owns a charter plane company traveling from one place to another. So you also have the plane pilot. You have the pilot, and his name is Jonah, and Jonah is in charge of taking her from place to place as she explores Alaska and kind of figures herself out. And Jonah just thinks that she is like a city girl who's out of her element, who needs to go back where she belongs, to the city, and get out of Alaska. And so they've got kind of like a little enemies thing going on, but it sparks into something different, and they end up really liking each other. But how dare they like each other when she's going to end up going back home and he's going to end up staying in Alaska? How would that work? Should they fall in love or should they not? Should they give up? I don't know. You should find out. This is a 4-star read for me. I really enjoyed it. K.A. Tucker's also coming out with a couple new reads next year, so I'm excited about that too. Also, I don't know where I am in this frame or if my cats are in this frame, but my cats are behind me again, so you just have some really fun noises there. We also have 99% Mine by Sally Thorne. I liked this book. This was, again, a 4-star read for me. Not 5 stars, but 4 stars. And Sally Thorne also wrote The Hating Game, which is a book and is now a movie. So if you have read that or liked that, this would be a good one to recommend to read next. Also, if you read The Hating Game and didn't read the epilogue, because the epilogue isn't in The Hating Game, epilogue is in this book. So the epilogue for her other book is in this book. So there's an epilogue for that. Right now that's a very big thing. People are all trying to find it like, wait, there's an epilogue? There is, and it's in this book instead. But we have Darcy and we have Tom, and so Tom is Darcy's brother's best friend. This is a brother's best friend romance, and Tom is always on her brother's side and kind of like belongs to him. You know, like they're pals and Darcy just needs to stay out of it. But now Darcy and Jamie, so Darcy and her brother, inherit they inherit a cottage from their grandmother, and so they have to like restore it and bring it back. And so Darcy ends up working on that, and rather than working on it with her brother brings along Tom. So Darcy and Tom are in forced proximity of each other a lot, and Darcy fell in love with Tom when she was really young, but she knows that she can't have him because he's her brother's best friend. So it is that line of like, you're not mine, you're my brother's, but I still really want you. So it's kind of the brother's best friend's romance, forced proximity, I want what I can't have type of thing. It's a good one. Next up, we have Starry Eyes by Jenn Bennett. I love this one. This one's a 5-star read for me. Love, 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 love. Love, love. And this is a best friends to enemies to lovers. And we have Zori and Lennon, who were best friends, and now they are not. They are enemies. And they have businesses right next to each other, so they're like high schoolers or whatever, but their parents have businesses kind of right next to each other, and their businesses are kind of clashing, and that's what took them from best friends to kind of enemies. And they end up on a group trip to camp together. So they're on a group camping trip, but after an incident occurs, they end up split up from the group. So they've got the group, and then it's just those two. And again, forced proximity, best friends to enemies to lovers, romance, and it's all about them going from this camping trip, trying to make it back after their friends like abandon them. Try to make it back home. So I really like this one. Jenn Bennett in general is just one of my favorite authors. I really like all of her works. She too is coming out with something new in 2022, so if you've read this, keep an eye out for that. But if not, I would highly recommend this one. I love it. Cute cover, written in first person. It's a romance. Words are really big and readable in a good font, so has everything I'm looking for and more, of course. And last up, I have these two. So I've got two with me rather than one. Both of these are by Helen Hoang, and we have The Bride Test and we have The Kiss Quotient. I liked The Kiss Quotient more than I liked The Bride Test, but honestly, both of them are 5 stars. Some of the things that I really enjoy and appreciate about Helen's writing is how she includes people with disabilities as the main focus. So one of them has, I think they both have Asperger's, either Asperger's or autism, and Asperger's is like a form of autism where it's like, where they're not as affected by the autism. So yeah, but the main characters in both books have a form of autism, and that affects how they live their lives, and a part of that is affecting relationships. And so I think that it's really great how she shows disability, but in like a really positive light, and showing that effect of how it affects relationships but also how it can work out and be a really good thing, and how they can find love. So both of these are romance reads. The Kiss Quotient, we have Stella and Michael. So Michael is a professional escort, and Stella hires him one time just to take her out on a date to practice going on a date, and he usually only goes on one date with clients, but he ended up going multiple dates with her despite his rule of only going on one date and never falling for the client. So he takes her on multiple dates. It's kind of trying to teach her how to date, and then they end up possibly falling for each other. But you already knew that. And then the bride test is, we've got Kai. And Kai, he's got no feelings. He's a grumpy sunshine. So we've got our grumpy and we've got our sunshine. This is a grumpy sunshine romance. So Kai is your grump, and we have Esme, and Esme is a sunshiny character. We love her. And Kai's grandmother finds Esme and says, I want to hire you to turn my son, or my grandson, into, like, make him nicer, practice dating with him, fall in love with him, whatever. And so, oh, it's his mother. So his mother finds Esme and tries to do a perfect bride for him and get her to fall in love with him. And so it's that grumpy sunshine, it's the forced proximity, it's the parents trying to be like, ah, fall in love. And you'll have to find out what happens with that. So that's all the books that I have for you today, but those are some of my top romance reads. Those are all 4- and 5-star recommendations from me. Also, I have them all in paperback. For me, if I love a book, I have to have it in paperback. I have to have a physical copy of it. Ebooks are great, but the ones I really love are the ones that I can hold and read over and over and over and over and over again. Those books I've all read at least twice, if not more. So if you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts, and if you liked them as much as I did. And if you're like, I'm looking for recommendations all the time, so if you have a good romance read for me to read, please let me know, because I have fallen in love with those books and now it's hard for me to find something new that I also love. But give me a recommendation below. Let me know your thoughts if you've read any of those, or if you end up reading them, if they get put on your TBR. Thank you so much for joining me. That's all for today, and I'll see you later. Bye!